Some people are concerned or possibly even convinced that there are people manipulating the market to make the prices go up so they can sell high and then turn around and scare everybody and make the market fall so they can buy in at low. When someone says that the wealthy people are trying to manipulate the system, no fucking shit. That's the way it's always been, that's the way it's always going to be. So the question is, how can you participate? How can you be involved in the system in a way where in the long run you can make money and not have huge tax bills, where you can make money without getting screwed? One way to do that is to use index funds. As an example, the most well-known one is the S&P 500 index fund, where you essentially own all 500 of the largest companies in the United States of America, and when the economy is strong, you're gonna make money. But there's a problem with the economy, you might lose money, but you just gotta kind of stay in there and wait for things to turn around, and there will be fluctuations in the short term, even if people are gaming the system, but you can kind of level that all out by buy and hold and continually investing as you go throughout your life. I have a lot of clients that have been calling me lately, and people who aren't clients asking me, what should I do now in the era of Trump? I have two very different answers depending on your position in life and where you are in terms of years to retirement. So at this point, maybe if you're 12, 14, 15 or more years from retirement, change nothing. You should have a sound plan. That's a whole different subject, but you don't want to change that plan right now. What you want to be able to do is add money. And if you're lucky enough to be young enough to have 15 or more years from retirement, it might be the best thing that's ever happened in your investing life, because if the market falls a whole bunch, you're making the highest income you've ever made in your life, and you want to pile it in for a few years, and then when it goes back up, it could be the best thing that ever happened for you. If you're close to retirement or in retirement, it would be a reasonable time to take 20% off the table and put it in stuff that's more conservative, like some bonds, different types of bonds, but just give yourself a little bit smaller expected return, but a considerable more amount of safety and hopefully help you sleep at night. Tariffs do increase prices. That's just how it works. A tariff could actually be a reasonable thing to do if it's done in a very thoughtful and over a period of time. For example, if we wanted to build the steel industry in the United States of America, we could have a 10% tariff and then 20 and 30 and 40 over several years so that some companies could ramp up and start building steel or aluminum production facilities in the United States. And then it would stay at a high level for 5 or 10 years to allow those companies to recoup the construction costs and get up to scale with modern equipment. And then the tariffs would fade off and the American companies would have to compete with companies around the world. That would be a prudent and thoughtful and productive and beneficial way to do tariffs to help the United States of America. But putting 10 or 25 or 50% tariffs on somebody and then taking it off a couple weeks later and then putting it on again and changing the amount, no company, no matter how much money they have, is not going to start to plan on spending $2 trillion to create a brand new steel or aluminum fabrication facility if the tariffs might go away tomorrow. It's just not going to happen. So the tariff becomes a penalty to the country that it's applied to, and it becomes a price increase for people that are living in the United States. It's just bad all the way around. I've had a pretty consistent opinion on crypto. Don't do it. Just run the fuck away. If you have cash, don't put it in crypto. If you have money in crypto, get it out of crypto. That is my advice, whether that turns out to be good or bad. I'm playing the odds. Crypto does not make anything. It doesn't produce revenue, it doesn't produce yields or dividends. And often when cryptos have produced yields or dividends, it turns out that they're a scam because they can pay out money for a while, but if it's not making money or creating money or enhancing wealth, it can't work. The idea that, as an example, that Bitcoin, you could put your money in Bitcoin to avoid market volatility. Well, the stock market is down at the time of this recording about 10%, and some people are losing their shit. But crypto went from 105 to 80, so it's down 20 25%, it didn't protect you. It actually enhances the volatility. One of the many problems with crypto, basically everything that they promise you is not true. Like, for example, they might say it's energy efficient. It's profoundly not energy efficient. The more people that try to mine crypto, the harder the puzzle is, and so the amount of energy necessary becomes more and more and more. As the price of crypto goes up, the price of energy usage goes up. Bitcoin in particular is inversely scalable, and only so many transactions can be done in a given block, and one block is solved every 10 minutes. So if more and more people started using Bitcoin, the delay time, the time to process your request, could grow into hours, days, or even longer. So it's not easy, it's not secure, and some people do it because you can't be tracked. You can be tracked if the government is interested enough in what you're doing to track and find you. They will find you if you're doing something terribly illegal. One thing that maybe it's good for is moving relatively large amounts of money from one country to another, but you could do that with a US dollar-based cryptocurrency without the fluctuations that are available with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is also a very big problem with being used practically as a transaction. Like, for example, if you wanted to buy a car with cryptocurrency, maybe a new car is about $30,000. Because of the potential lag time in the transaction being processed, the price of the Bitcoin, in this case, might go up or down. So you might think you're paying $30,000 for a car, but it turns out you paid $33,000 for the car. The company selling you, the dealership selling you the car for $30,000, if Bitcoin goes the other way, might only get $27,000 by the time the transaction clears. So having that kind of volatility as something that you consider a way to buy something is scary for both parties, and nobody's going to want to use it in that way if they understand the volatility that's involved. People ask me about penny stocks, and I give them the example, the Wolf of Wall Street movie, which shows you how the money is made, and it's not by the investors. The money is made by the people selling the shares. Their commission is limited to 50%, no more than that. So if you spend $10,000 on penny stocks, you're investing $5,000, and the person that recommended that you buy it is making up to $5,000. So your investment has to double before you can even have a chance of breaking even. And the volatility can be huge there also. Sometimes I hear people say a phrase like, I'm only gonna invest the money I can afford to lose. Whenever I hear something like that, my response is, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is money I can afford to lose? I don't understand that concept. I have $0 that I can afford to lose. So penny stocks is another thing that I don't participate in. When you look at what your portfolio is worth and try to figure out how much it can be worth next year, as an example, it could go up 50%, it could fall 50%. Stock market investing is not something you try, you do. And you just put the money in and you do it. When you look at the statistical models, when you look at the 100, 150 years of history, when you, instead of looking at 1 year, you look at 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, you can actually get more precise ability to forecast how much money you're going to have in 10 or 15 years than you can for the next year. Because almost anything can happen in the next year, good or bad. But it all tends to even out. One of the things I tell people is that companies, their job is to make money. And in a very delicate way, I want to separate out political and social problems versus what companies do. The government or companies can do terrible things to people because they may not care. It's not that they want to harm people, they might just be indifferent, but they want to make money. And they can make money when taxes are high, they can make money when taxes are low. They can make money with tariffs or without tariffs. The one thing that routinely messes up companies is volatility, and we might be in a period of not only volatility, but actual genuine chaos. And when there's chaos and confusion and volatility, companies will do the same thing that a lot of people will do. And you say, I don't know what's going to happen next. I don't know if I'm going to have my job. So what do? You take your money and you pull it close to you. You want to avoid risk. You want to hold on to cash. companies will do the same thing. And we might be on the edge of a self-induced recession that didn't need to fucking happen, but here we are. One of the things that you need to do, just from a skeptical part and also learning how to invest, is educate yourself. Books that I can recommend: one, the starter book is Richest Man in Babylon. The second book is A Random Walk Down Wall Street. The third book is Winning the Loser's Game. And the fourth book is Common Sense on Mutual Funds. I do recommend them in that order, because if you jump to the third book without the knowledge that you gained in the first or second book, it'll be hard to process what's in the third book. The same thing with the fourth book. It's not a race. You don't have to read all 4 books, and they may not be easy for you to read. It's not like reading a good crime or romance novel that you can finish in a couple hours. Particularly the third and the fourth book feel a little bit more like textbooks. But you owe it to yourself. You're smart enough, you just don't have the experience, you just don't have the information. Learn the information. It'll help you learn what signs to look for where you might be potentially getting ripped off, and it will help you feel comfortable and not as scared to invest. And when you can get that fear down a little bit, maybe you can make smarter and better long-term decisions.